Boys and girls, here again, Frank, Roy, on another out and about to dig up some spirits.
This is going to be a good one too. I can feel it in my bones. I feel it. It's going to be good.
Apparently we pissed someone off because we are getting heavy downpours, heavy lightning. So we will be, many of you may or may have not heard of a gentleman by the alias of H.H. Holmes.
One bad mofo.
Apparently America's first serial killer. But today we are going to be focusing on not so much the Chicago aspect that everybody knows, and everybody knows about the torture, the murder castle. We are going to be focusing on Philadelphia. And H.H. Holmes.
Let's do it.
Believe it or not, this is a very integral part of catching H.H. Holmes happened in Philadelphia. Did you know that, Francis?
I think I read it somewhere before in a book.
So, with Columbo-like research, we were able to find locations, pictures, first-hand accounts.
Lots of research.
A lot of research, but we're ready to put it on tape. We're ready to show you the locations. Hopefully you come along. Hopefully you enjoy it. Now, I will say this. It's going to be a little, like, not in order, completely. You might see some daytime, you might see some nighttime, you might see some daytime, you might see some nighttime, you might see some rain, you might see some sunshine. Just because certain locations we can't get to because they do close.
Because we're in the Twilight Zone.
Well, that too. Don't sue us, CBS. I don't want to get your suit either. I don't know. So, hold on to your zippers. Sounded good at the moment. Hold on to your.
What does that mean?
Hold on to your hats, and come along.
Yeah, it's gonna be a fun time. See you there.
Let it begin. Herman Webster Mudgett was born May 16th, 1861, in Gilhampton, New Hampshire. His parents, Levi Horton Mudgett and Theodate Page Price, both who descended from first English settlers in the area. He graduated high school in 1877 at the age of 16. He was then married 1 year later to Clara Lovering. Herman would go on to teach for the next 3 years, but due to the lack of challenge and his interest in medicine and human anatomy, he entered medical school and left his town in the fall of 1880. The University of Vermont in Burlington was the first stop of two to obtain his doctorate in medicine. He was a student here for 4 years before going to the University of Michigan to finish out. One of the suspected reasons was that Mudgett beat one of his colleagues within inches of his life over using Mudgett's tools without permission. June 1884, Herman and his wife, Clara, traveled to Michigan for his final stretch of medical school. Eyewitness accounts observed obvious bruising and limping from Clara during appearances. This is also where Mudgett realized how much corpses, parts, and skeletons could get you and how lax insurance policies were. He stole several cadavers from the lab, disfigured them, and tried to collect insurance by saying they died in an accident. Over the years, he perfected these insurance scams and supposedly became the beneficiary on policies of several women who worked for him, many of whom mysteriously died shortly after. Mudgett credits Professor Herman in a later confession of showing him the most proper ways to cut with precision and sharpness. In June 1885, Mudgett was then a doctor. So, as Holmes graduated from medical school in Michigan, he ventured out as a doctor. The first place he wanted to go was Norristown Asylum, which is now Norristown State Hospital. It was one of the bigger hospitals at the time, situated at 262 acres, I believe. And he arrived here, and he only stayed here for 2 months. Some people say the challenge, the challenge wasn't good enough for him. He was only hired as an aide, not a doctor. Some people say the mental health of the patient scared him away. 1800s schizophrenia looked like demonic possession at that time. So nobody really knows. He was only here for a short time, but we looked into this. Norristown State Hospital is still open, but the old building, Old Main, which is building 17 now, is abandoned. And let me tell you, it is straight out of a horror movie. And as we pan around, pure nightmare fuel. As we can see here, watch your step there, Francis. The roads, you see how narrow the roads are. Not meant for cars. I probably drove you up here horse and buggy and put you right in that main building there. And we're going to insert a couple of 4 pics, and we are also going to go up in the air pretty shortly. Fall of 1885, Dr. Herman Webster Mudgett traveled to Norristown, Pennsylvania to apply for a position in one of the newest and largest hospitals just to the outskirts of the debutante-riddled Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. Founded in 1880, Norristown State Hospital was one of the most dynamic and innovative hospitals in mental health. Situated on 265 acres of land, nothing compared at the time. To Mudgett's taste, he was only offered a position as an aide and left after a couple weeks. Mudgett was a challenge-seeking individual who found himself ready to tackle the second biggest city at the time, next to New York, and that was Philadelphia, Pennsylvania.
Run it! Oh! Run it! Oh! Oh, fucking go! And here we are at...
We are at H.H. Holmes' apartment in Philadelphia.
his apartment.
So, November 1885. This is where we're at in the timeline area. We just came from Norristown. He now moved into this apartment, got a job at a pharmacy, which is a little down the road. But, yeah, he's here. And a big shout out to PhiladelphiaSpeaks.com. You can check that out. It's a thread, and it's basically a bunch of people putting in, like, they have like records they found, pictures about the city that you know it's impossible to find. So if you have any like quick questions, what I did was with this, because books, documentaries could not find his Philadelphia apartment. Did a quick Google search. This came up, Philadelphia Speaks. It was a thread, and this guy, I think his name was Joshua or something, but he's a big H.H. Holmes guy in Philadelphia. And his thread popped up, and I read like a lot of his stuff, and he got me this address, and we're going to be inserting a picture that we found, which is a couple blocks down on 9th Street, but basically this whole row was just buildings of apartments.
Mm-hmm.
And
they're all gone at the moment, though.
They're all gone. Right where we're at now, this is like the heart of like Temple housing, Temple University.
Mm-hmm.
Hashtag Temple Tough for my Temple alumnus.
Go Owls.
But now it's the heart of student housing. But before this was just apartment buildings. I mean, it was very close to the city. In proximity, like Broad Street is right down there.
Mm-hmm.
So H.H. Holmes occupied this. The address is 1905 11th Street.
Yes.
And we'll see the video here. We're going to give you...
There's a little panoramic, see what's going on, see what's here now, and then, like you said, we're going to insert the picture and let you see what it was like back in the 1800s.
Jalapeno cheese pretzel.
Okay, here we are at the pharmacy where H.H. Holmes worked. We are currently at the corner of 20th and Cecil B. Moore. Now, I gotta keep in mind, H.H. Holmes was very handsome fella, very charming, which also made him very manipulating. Manipulating? Am I manipulating?
No. Manipulative. Is that manipulative? Fuck.
I think we're both correct.
No, well, we are correct, but we can't talk. We can't say it.
It's all these coffees and Red Bulls we've been sucking down all day.
And I'll say this. If we go straight ahead, there's a street called Uber Street right in front of us. See it?
What does that have to do with anything?
Just saying, it's pretty cool.
Did they have Uber back then?
No, they did not. So here we are, the pharmacy, 20th and Cecil B. Moore. Did you say that one?
20th and Cecil.
Man. So, Holmes leaves Norristown, like we said, goes to the apartment, gets the apartment nearby within a mile radius. He works at this pharmacy. He works here for a good bit of time. About 2 years, he's established as a pharmacist, likes it. Then, this is where history in the 1800s, there's always that gap. There's not certainty. You're just going by people's stories. But a little boy went to this pharmacy, was either given too much, the wrong dosage, or poison. We don't know if Holmes did this intentionally, not intentionally, but it backfired, and the gist was up, and he had to flee.
You had to get out of here.
But go ahead, bud. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
We're going to show you the spot right now.
Correct.
We'll probably put in we are going to put in a photo so you can see what it looks like now, see what it looks like back then, and give you a little feel of the area.
Real quick, I wanted this location was very hard to find. In the book, Devil in White City, they say he worked at a pharmacy in Philadelphia at Columbia Avenue. Just Columbia Avenue. They don't give you an address, anything like that. So what I did was, in Philadelphia we have its Philly Archives, and it's basically it's a search engine tool, and you could type in specific business, address, location, and a time period. So what I did was I typed pharmacy, Columbia Avenue, through this time period of 1870 to 1910, and there was only one in the area. So this is not 100% guarantee this is the pharmacy, but I can assure you it is the closest it's the closest you're going to get. I mean, the amount of pharmacies match, the area matches, the area makes sense of where his apartment building is. You know how close people have cars. So
I looked over. It's
I'm pretty
sure this is it.
Pretty sure this is it. So we're gonna get into them stills. We're gonna give you some pictures, some facts also behind this, as you've been seeing the rest of the vlog, and enjoy.
Yep.
Dr. Mudgett took a job as a pharmacist at what was then 20th and Columbia Avenue, but now is 20th and Cecil B. Moore. This job gave Mudgett a look at medications, how and why they were used, how much can be used, contradictions, and mixing. A totally different take than the anatomy of the body that he so much fell in love with in medical school. Sometime in the summer of 1885, Mudgett fled to the area, quit without notice, packing sparsely from his apartment, and fled the city. A young boy's family arrived to the pharmacy at 20th and Columbia Avenue, accusing the pharmacy of a wrongful medication and or dosage, resulting in the child's death. There was no sign of Herman Webster Mudgett, but only an envelope left with $12 for his rent money, signed Dr. Henry Howard Holmes. August 1886. Holmes settled into Chicago. From his elaborate insurance scams, he had enough money to build a property at 6300 Waller Street, catering to incoming visitors for the Chicago's World Fair. Construction began in 1887 and finished in 1889. During the construction, Holmes would often fire the workers when he thought they were getting suspicious of his building plans, which consisted of 51 doorways that opened to brick walls, 100 windowless rooms, stairs that led to nowhere, body-sized chutes to an incinerator, and a huge kiln in the basement. Unsuspecting tourists that were sucked in by the charm, intelligent, and wit of Holmes did not stand a chance. He sold the skeletons of his victims to medical science. As a former medical student, Holmes had many connections that enabled him to sell his victim skeletons to labs and schools, including University of Pennsylvania Hospital, Jefferson Hospital of Science, and Michigan, his alma mater. He and a sometimes hired assistant were accused of stripping the flesh of the bodies, dissecting them, and preparing the viable skeletons. The rest of the remains would be tossed in pits of lime or acid, effectively breaking down the remaining evidence.
Alright, here we are, 13th and Callow Hill. The exact address is 1316 Callow Hill. This is the patent office that H.H. Holmes owned. And it's also the place where he killed... Who'd he kill?
Benjamin Petzl, a.k.a. B.F. Perry.
Yes, indeed he did. And now it's just it's a parking lot. Now, like I said, 100 years ago, a lot of things change. A lot of things got turned into parking lots.
Correct.
So, he killed Pretzel here, or however you say his name. And he also, not here, just in the whole scheme of things, Pretzel had 5 kids. Now, he killed 3 of them.
Correct.
3? Yeah, 3. 2 left. 2 kids left. He killed 3 of Pretzel's kids and killed Pretzel. Yeah, this
New
is
text message from Monsell.
Your mom texted.
This is one sick individual here. Almost wiped out this whole man's family, all for the benefit of himself, and he was very greedy. Very, very greedy, just consumed them, you know?
So yeah, I mean, on the timelines, schematic of things, August 1895, they arrive here, H.H. Holmes and Petzl. You know, you have Petzl, a desperate man, trying to make money. Like Frank said, he has 5 kids. Just looking for a way to get ahead. And this was one of the ways, insurance fraud. Back then, it was very lax, very like, you provide a body, we'll give you the check. Kind of sort of thing.
If you signed off on it beforehand, and then it's like, all right, as soon as he dies, we'll just give you money.
Correct. So, I mean, you know, they're here. H.H. Holmes, this guy is always 10 steps ahead of everybody. Even researching them now, I mean, there's so many different articles that come up of either a different name he used or just trying to explain his method behind his madness. I mean, it's...
He led a life of lies and confusion. And that's how he got away with so much, because everybody just didn't know what the hell he was doing.
And honestly, I think at the point of his life, I mean, we can't be sure, but as much when he gets arrested and when he's in prison, his diary, he changes his mind several times on his victims, the amount of victims he killed. He's innocent.
Contradicts himself a lot during the entire thing.
So
this is definitely inside the mind of a madman, and he was just he was so smart in doing everything, and the way he manipulated people and just made everybody just like nobody understood what was going on before it was too late.
Correct. So we have I was actually able to accidentally I consider myself very lucky in as we made this, looking for pictures. I actually looked for this just address. Looked for the address. Yeah, you'll see the picture. But if you looked really close, it actually has the patent sign that they put out when they took this picture. And I'm assuming it's before the murder, obviously, because then I have an after picture after the murder was committed, and you know the sign's down and the house is kind of like stripped. But we'll show both of them pictures. We'll show the area. But I mean, it's crazy how like even though it's an empty parking lot, like how much history happened here so many years ago. So many people walk past these streets and they really have no clue, no idea of
a lot of history in this city.
Yep. So
lots of history.
We'll show you that, and we'll move on to the next area.
Yep.
Good night, my handsome son. Love you, mama.
Holmes and Petzl devised a plan to make fraudulent patents. You would come to them with your idea and pay. You would either be given a fake patent or no patent at all. This building would sit at 1316 Callow Hill Street. The building now ceases to exist, just now a footprint, but used to be a small 2-story building with a banner outside reading patents for B.F. Perry. As Holmes described, the moment he met Petzl, he knew he was going to kill him. Holmes knew that Benjamin Petzl was a man of the drink. One night, as Petzl became so intoxicated, Holmes drenched Petzl in a flammable liquid, tied him to the chair, and set him on fire. Holmes was now able to cash in on 2 insurance policies. 1037 Buttonwood Street.
And here we are, 1037 Buttonwood Street. Unfortunately, it's another vacant lot. Not really too much to look at. A lot of vacant lots to look at today. This used to be in the 1800s a furniture store.
Late 1800s. You know, almost 1900s.
Furniture store.
Mm-hmm.
So one day, a couple of guys decide to go to the furniture store. They go to the furniture store. They meet somebody else. Next thing you know, shit happens. We'll find out in a second.
So,
is that correct?
That is correct. And I'll tell you, before we, like I said, it's an empty lot. We could have left it out, but I think it is a very integral piece in the story here. It's very important in the downfall of H.H. Holmes. One of the few mistakes he made.
Mm-hmm.
So, they come to Philadelphia. They buy the patent office.
Like we just showed.
So now they need to furnish it. So they walk 10 or so blocks down around. There's a furniture store here. They go in the furniture store to furnish the office. They meet a Mr. Eugene Smith. Now, Mr. Eugene Smith has a very good idea for a saw. And he wants to get a patent. So they get to talking. This is the mistake he makes. H.H. Holmes and Peitzel discuss they have a patent office. Now, they come here to do one scam and one scam only for the most part. And that is to fake Peitzel's death, collect his insurance money, and Peitzel doesn't realize, but H.H. Holmes also wants to kill B.F. Perry and get his insurance money. So, instead of just settling with two people, he gets greedy. He wants to take a little more money.
Mm-hmm.
So he tells Mr. Eugene Smith to come to his patent office. He does. Mr. Smith gives his money and his idea. They don't give him a patent. They don't even give him a fake patent.
They're like, fuck
Basically.
you.
So a couple weeks pass.
And keep the money.
Mr. Smith is very concerned, comes back to the patent office. He comes back to the patent office.
And what does he discover at the patent office?
At the patent office, he smells fumes and rot, as it's described in his testimony.
Mm-hmm.
He goes in, he sees Mr. Peitzel, well, he don't know it's Mr. Peitzel, Mr. Perry's hat and his top coat on the rack. Goes up the steps to look for somebody, and he finds the charred body of B.F. Perry
Slash
Benjamin Peitzel.
same person.
So, in a rewind, if they never...
In a what?
A rewind, a
Okay.
recap. If they never discuss to Mr. Eugene Smith they have a patent office, Mr. Eugene Smith does not go there to get his saw patented and would not discover the body of Benjamin Peitzel.
Mm-hmm.
And this is one of many, as we'll discuss in the end of this video, the unravelings of H.H. Holmes. He starts getting a little big for his britches, a little reckless.
Starts going out on the edge, getting does things that's a little risky,
Mm-hmm. And you have to bear with me. Like I said, it's a very complicated scam he had, and this is just one of many.
Yes.
This is just him in Philadelphia, and this is his last hurrah in Philadelphia. This is his downfall.
Like I said, he led a life of lies and cons.
Correct. So
Lots of them.
we're going to pan to the spot where the furniture store used to sit, and you could it's just like I said, a vacant lot, but such a notorious criminal. This is the beginning of the downfall. So I thought it was very important to show and talk about.
Yes, indeed.
So more than likely, if Holmes and Peitzel, aka at the moment B.F. Perry, do not give their identity to a Mr. Eugene Smith, most likely Holmes gets away, and who knows how long his reign would have went on for.
Okay, here we are at the final resting place of Pretzel.
You know what?
How do you say his name? Is it Pretzel or is
I
it?
think it's Peitzel or Pietzel. It's Peitzel. I'm going to say Peitzel.
It's close enough.
If you know the proper pronunciation of this name, correct me, please, in the comments below.
Well, how can they correct us in the comments? They'll just spell the name.
Well, you know how they have, like, in the dictionary, it tells you how to say it.
Yeah, I guess
So
that
give
makes
me one of
sense.
them things. And
Okay.
also, if you know what one of them things are called, also put in the comment section, because that is very impressive.
Mhm.
So,
Here we are, final resting place. This is, what's the name of this cemetery here? Well, it's not a cemetery now. It was once a cemetery. And what was the name of it?
so this is the American Mechanics Cemetery in Philadelphia.
Yes, now everybody was buried here, but when they moved the cemetery, they only took the soldiers with them. They dug them up, they took all the soldiers, and they replaced them and gave them more of a proper burial. The other people are still here in the ground.
Correct.
Pretzel being one of them.
So, the way to get, back, this is like one of the nicer cemeteries you can get into. To get in this cemetery, either you need to be a person of a trade, carpenter, ironworker, whatever, or you needed to serve for, in the Civil War was the next closest war, or serve in the military branch without being a war. So, when H.H. Holmes and Ben Peitzel, they had this scheme of making a false identity of B.F. Perry. Now, eventually when Holmes killed Peitzel, he died as B.F. Perry. And B.F. Perry had a false military record, which got him buried in this cemetery. Now, once they figured out that B.F. Perry was Benjamin Peitzel, when they unearthed him, they said,
a soldier.
he's not a soldier.
No.
So he's going with, they did him the kindness of leaving him in the cemetery, but when they unearthed where they put him, he was with, laborers, common people that were in the cemetery, 1951, this cemetery becomes in disarray. They move the soldier section that served to Philadelphia Memorial Cemetery, which is in Fraser, PA. Okay? Everybody else got left. So, when I was doing research, I was researching Benjamin Peitzel's grave. It was saying Philadelphia Memorial Cemetery. But if he wasn't with the soldiers, he's here, because they wouldn't have moved him with people who have served in the military branch, especially after falsifying your identity as a soldier. You definitely want to be left. So here at 22nd and Diamond, in the heart of, not in the heart of, but on the outskirts of Temple University, this is where this Mr. Peitzel rests. Peitzel,
Yep.
B.F. Perry, whoever, how you want to say it, or whose it may, he's right here. And, it's funny, you look around, you see all these buildings, and then you have this humongous patch of land, and it's just empty. And probably 96% of the people who walk by us wouldn't even know it was a graveyard. I sure as heck wouldn't know it was a graveyard.
No, just looks like a lot, which we'll show you in a second from now.
So, this is the lot. I wasn't able to find any pictures of this as a graveyard. Just the address. And as we're showing you the pan view, I'm going to give you a little information on the graveyard as well. With Peitzel deceased, H.H. Holmes went on to fulfill the last insurance scam he will ever attempt. Acting as Benjamin Peitzel, with back and forth correspondence, he was able to get Peitzel's wife to agree on sending 3 out of the 5 children to Holmes, in belief that they were being looked at by a nanny and her father as things were becoming put in motion for bigger financial endeavors. In late 1893, a loan was put through for B.F. Perry for $10,000 from Fidelity Mutual Life Insurance in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. The suspicious paperwork claim lack of info was put on the desk of Detective Frank Geyer, who eventually led the hunt for the Putzel children. Alice, age 14, and Nellie, age 10, were found buried naked in a basement in Toronto, Canada, at 16 St. Vincent Street. Howard was the last to be found in an Indianapolis cabin. His teeth and clothes were found in the fireplace. He was 8 years of age. In that year, H.H. Holmes was in jail for a sentence of horse theft and fraud. Detective Geyer then contacted police in Chicago as the murder castle was being raided. The country was not prepared for what was inside.
So, here we are in Center City, Philadelphia.
Right to our right is the Honorable Frank J. Rizzo. J? I think it's J.
Pretty sure it's a J.
There you go. It's him, to our right.
Mm-hmm. And to our left is City Hall. And why are we at City Hall today?
I'm going to stress it. We are next to the original City Hall.
Which is coincidentally part of the current City Hall.
Correct. So we're here. This is where H.H. Holmes' murder trial took place, to the left of us. This building looked totally different, and you'll see in the picture we're going to show shortly. But
much smaller. It was only like a small corner of what it is today. They built around.
And they built it. From 1894 to 1903, I think, roughly. It was one of the tallest buildings in the world. And then buildings went up in Chicago and I think New York. I'm not 100% on the buildings. What?
I'm pretty sure there was a law in Philadelphia for the longest time that you couldn't build over City Hall. You couldn't make it higher.
Very good. And you know where that's most evident, Frank?
Where is that?
In the 1976 Rocky poster.
Yep.
If you look at, the when he has his arms up, you look to Center City. It's City Hall is the tallest building. So.
And that's where you also get the Philly curse.
Correct.
But as we all know, Phillies took care of that one.
So they built the Comcast Center and they put a little William Penn on top of the Comcast Center. So.
There we have it.
But let's not get into that. We're here for the trial of H.H. Holmes. The original City Hall was right here at 63rd and Juniper is the cross street there.
What was that? 63rd and what?
Juniper.
Juniper.
Okay.
Okay.
So this trial took place here. It was a semi-circus between that and the ongoing construction that this was heavily under. It was pretty tight down here for a little bit. But yeah, this is it. This is where it took place. We have had it narrowed down, just finding through records of this used to hold 30 courtrooms. So one of the 30 in this rounded area of City Hall was where the trial took place. So we'll give you a close-up look at that.
Want to do another little panorama, give you a look around, show you the building, show you what it like before.
On October 28, 1895, H.H. Holmes stood trial for murder. The case took place at 6300 Juniper Street at a building that after its full construction would become one of the tallest buildings in the world. Until 1908, it was surpassed by the Singer Building in Manhattan. The trial lasted 5 days, and with the overwhelming evidence and following 27-page confession written by Holmes himself, where he confessed to over 100 murders, but then changed to 27, he was sentenced to death.
Where are we?
We are at, man, we should have looked how to pronounce this fucking prison.
Moyamensing
Prison.
AKA Acme.
Yeah, it is Acme now, but looking ahead, as we're in the car here, we are looking at the southwest corner of the prison where it was called the Wailing Wall. Before the hanging, it was the firing squad wall. And then it was the hanging wall where H.H. Holmes on May 7th was hung.
Why was it called the Wailing Wall?
I guess I'm assuming because of death. Death, wailing's crying.
Because they hung whales.
Oh, shit. So, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Google it.
It all makes sense.
But they did hang H.H.
Mm-hmm. So now, the prison was built in 1835. It was here until 1963, and it was demolished in 1967.
Mm-hmm.
It was then leveled, and built upon it was an acme. The way my father would say it, an acme.
Mm-hmm. They still have some of the wall here.
We still have some of the wall, is the remnants. We're going to show you the remnants of the wall. But nothing else ceased to exist. They used to have a memorial in the acme. The security guard told us it ceased to exist. But there is also a National Registry sign outside of the acme, which is weird. Usually when something's
like a historical site,
you don't demolish it. But I guess, people need their groceries, so. Yeah, so we're going to show you some before and after pictures, and we're going to show you the wall. Mm-hmm. But my guy Frankie here has some stuff he wants to read off.
I have some facts here, a couple end-of-life facts.
Some quizzo questions for everybody.
Mm-hmm. So if everybody got your pens and paper. Police around the time of his killings suspected that H.H. killed around 9 or 10 people. Holmes himself claimed responsibility for 27 murders, but later on they discovered that some of the 27 people that he mentioned, they were still alive. So throughout this whole thing, he's like making up lies and stories upon stories, and at the end of his life, very contradicting upon, to other stories that he previously told. And then after looking at all the evidence, some even speculate after looking at Philadelphia and Chicago, and he was even up in Canada, and he was all over the place, Texas. After looking at all the evidence, some speculate that he killed into the hundreds of people. At the time of his death, he was married to 3 women. Like I said, this guy's very handsome, very charming. Had a way with the ladies. So, Holmes married his first wife, Clara, in 1878. He was only about 19. 2 years later, the couple had a son, but Holmes soon abandoned them and married Marta Belkamp.
Sounds like a whore.
Big whore. I don't know if she was a whore. She's probably a very lovely woman.
Mm-hmm.
Married her in 1887, even though he had yet to divorce Clara. He filed the divorce papers to Clara a couple weeks afterwards, but the papers never went through. So he was still married to them. At this point, married to 2 women. Finally, he married Georgina Yoke on January 17th. I'm sure it was a beautiful wedding. Great month to get married. 1894 in Denver, Colorado.
Did you say January?
Yeah, January.
Jesus Christ, in Colorado.
In Colorado, yep. It was probably chilly. I'm sure they had their top hats and overcoats.
Top hats and coats.
And
Titanic reference. Sorry.
Married her in Denver, Colorado.
Colorado.
Cockerado.
Cockerado.
So technically, Holmes was still married to Clara, Marta, and Georgina when he was put to death in 1896. That wall right there.
Mm-hmm.
Yep, I'm sure they all missed him when he passed.
Mm-hmm.
So, one last fact. Sorry,
here we go.
I'm getting ahead of myself here.
Shoot away, man. Fire it away.
While in this prison, Holmes was paid $7,500. Now, $7,500 back in, the late 1800s amounted to about $215,000 today. What the fuck did he need all this money for? That got me. He's about to die. But like I said earlier, very greedy man. But he was paid this money by the Hearst newspaper to tell his story. However, they didn't quite get what they bargained for, because once again, he just told him a bunch of bullshit stories, you know, contradicting himself over and over again, and you know, at the end of his life, he just was a fucking cesspool of lies and contradictions.
You know what? Another interesting fact about this prison.
What's that?
Edgar Allan Poe apparently
Good old Edgar.
spent a night in this prison for public intoxication.
Really? I didn't know that.
In the tank.
The man loved his alcohol, I'll tell you that. I still needed them.
What you?
I needed the paper.
It's gone. It's gone. Alright, so we're going to show you some cool stuff with the prison here. Enjoy. Holmes entered this intimidating structure right after his verdict was laid upon him. It stood at 1400 South 10th Street. It was known as the Jug for nearly 140 years. This castle-like structure ruled the south side of Passyunk Avenue. The night before Holmes was sent to hang, May 7th, 1896, Holmes retired about midnight and slept until 6 a.m., so sound in fact he was called twice before waking. He nibbled on a couple pieces of toast, 2 eggs, and his drink of choice was coffee black. As Reverend Daly and his advisor lawyer, Rofan, arrived, they were greeted warmly but without emotion. Once the meal and meetings ended at 9 o'clock, he dressed in trousers, a vest, and a black and pepper long coat. 10 o'clock, he stepped to the gallows. Calm as he was coming in, he denied the deaths of the Petzels at the gallows, but did confess to the murders of 2 sisters he murdered to claim land in Texas in a previous scam in an effort to create a second murder castle. He then looked at Knotsman and Lead Officer Richardson, saying, "Take your time, don't bungle it." He was then hooded. Before the door was sprung, he said goodbye. He hung for 20 minutes. The noose was left loose so that there was no snapping of the neck, just strangulation. Okay, here we are, the last stop of the H.H. Holmes tour. I hope you enjoyed it. This is the final resting place of H.H. Holmes. And it's popular belief, everybody says Chicago and all this. It's actually in Philadelphia is where he's buried. So we're going to go this way. It's an unmarked grave, so it took a little bit of research. And actually, if you're in the area, if you want to see this grave, all you got to do is Google H.H. Holmes grave. They give you a GPS location, and you follow it on your phone, and it brings you right here. And there's some pictures of some landmarks, as you'll see. You'll be able to eye up, but here we go. Patch of soil here. This is his final resting place, and he was just recently unearthed in May. They brought him back in. Just within a month. So I guess it's what we at, late July. So probably I'd say a couple weeks. Judging by the grass, it's still a little fresh, but evidence to be determined. They were trying to look to him, he either faked his own death or he was Jack the Ripper. So if we go this way, I'll show you kind of, this is a good way to determine if it is his grave. So since it is unmarked, you see this headstone here. The headstone followed by the tree, and this will give you his exact pinpoint location. We're going to insert a picture here just to show you the shot that we found to capture it. And also we're going to do an overhead shot of the cemetery and the grounds. So H.H. Holmes embraced the Catholic faith in prison. After being sentenced to death, he requested to be buried in concrete so that no one would be able to dig up his body. But 121 years later, a descendant of his did just that. The process of burying him in cement was as follows. He was taken out of the pine box. It was filled with cement. He was then placed back in, filled with more concrete. The lid was put on top, was closed, and he was buried. He was interned at Holy Cross Cemetery in an unmarked grave in Yeadon, Pennsylvania, just on the outskirts of Philadelphia.
Okay, so there we have it. America's first serial killer. H.H. Holmes, still at the grave, as you see. I think it was a pretty eventful day. We spent a lot of time researching, getting all the facts right. Read a couple books, read a book. I correct myself there, only one I read. But I think all in all, it was a fun day.
I've been looking forward to doing this video for a while now. And, fortunately, as we're about to do this, a local news broadcast brought up, they were doing all the H.H. Holmes stuff, and History Channel now has a documentary.
Stealing our glory is what the son of a bitch is trying to do.
Yeah, well, we were, I guess, a little late to the party, but we wanted to do it right. We wanted to have all the locations found, real locations, all the real facts, all the real stuff. We didn't want to half-ass it, so hopefully you guys took time to watch us and enjoyed it, and didn't just cut it off. But this is our second out about, Francis and I. We still have a lot of stuff on the horizon. Hopefully we can get Opie here. But we'll see. You have anything coming up in the works here, Frank?
Coming up in the works? Not really. Maybe just a couple unboxings coming up. Going over some new ideas for another outing just like this. It's a lot of fun. So, and I would just like to say, maybe you should go check out NBC's engraving of H.H. Holmes. I watched it. It's only like 3 minutes long. It's pretty cool. You got the descendant of H.H. Holmes. He's talking about it. He's doing like a book and also a documentary on the History Channel, trying to link, like what Roy said, trying to link him and Jack the Ripper together. We'll see how that goes. Yep. And let us know what you think. Let us know what you think about that video. This video, personally, I think this video is better. But hey.
This is we tried, just doing the Not the Basic H.H. Holmes documentary. We wanted to show you guys locations that you haven't seen before, or maybe you didn't know before. If you're interested. But as for me, I'm gonna still look away. I have a lot of cool stuff I think we really need to show out to the people. I know Jared's in. This is Bluetooth community, all that. But I mean, I know these guys like interesting stuff. Interesting stuff is interesting stuff. So hope you do enjoy the switch up. And we do bring a lot of things to the channel, so.
Yes, and on top of that, they are making a movie about him. There's already a documentary out. I'm pretty sure it's on Netflix. But I read the book, Devil in the White City. It's a really good book. It's about the World's Fair in Chicago, and at the same time, H.H. Holmes was building his murder hotel. And Leonardo DiCaprio just bought the movie rights to the book. And he's supposed to be on board with Scorsese to make that. So I don't know if that's going to happen sooner or later, but it is in the works. So there will be a Blu-ray out eventually about this.
So then you can go back 6 years from now and you can watch this video and say, or actually it'll probably be on the bonus features. Scorsese, I'm sure, will contact us.
I'm sure this might be. Yeah.
But as for me, like I said, hopefully we'll get together for an Opie and Friends video soon.
Yes.
As for that, if you did like the video, give us a subscribe. There's going to be more to come. There's going to be different stuff, a lot of stuff coming on. Big things on the horizon for the Opie channel. in this year. You know, if you don't want to subscribe, just give us a likes up.
Yep.
And even if you give it a likes down, it means you're giving us a view, which I don't hate you completely. So, from Holy Cross Cemetery in Yaden, Pennsylvania.
I don't know where we are.
On the outskirts of Philadelphia, you know.
I just follow the GPS.
Frank and I would like to say goodbye. Thank you for watching.
Yep.
And we will see you next time.
Ciao.